And welcome back, everyone. Welcome to the finale, the semifinals and the grand finals of Alpha X EU Ascension League Season 1 Code A. I'm, of course, your host, Light VIP, and with me... Oh, that is not correct. With me today, I will be solo casting. Feels bad, man. Feels bad. But yeah, at the moment, a lot of the other Ducklings are a little bit busy here. Maybe I'll be joined later on in the evening by someone else. But for the time being, I will be solo casting. And it's a bit of a shame because, you know, this is where it all ends. This is where we wrap things up. For those wondering and maybe tuning in for the first time and being like, yo, what even is this tournament? Well, let me show you. Let me show you, papi. Here we go. We have been casting this event for the past month or so. Initially, we casted the Code S variant. As you can tell, this is Code A, so a little bit of a lower level compared to Code S. Code S, of course, was restricted to European players that hadn't made it into the playoff bracket of DreamHack EU. So, you know, not quite top of the top, so we excluded players like Showtime and Cyril and Rainer, for example, but just under the top, the more mid-tier players is what this tournament was for. You know, it's kind of Ascension, you know, it's ascending, right? It's a way to support those players and give them a reason to continue to compete and help them improve, help them practice, give them something to strive for, give them their own version of GSL in a way. And Code S was wild. We had a lot of fun casting Code S. Myself and Asher and Yaku, we had a great time. You know what? We may as well just go over it a little bit here. I do remember casting players like, yeah, Akedon. This is what we were talking about last night. Last night we casted Spats, and I was like, mate, Spats is the ace for Berserker. He's gonna pop off. And this is why, because we casted Code S, and this was the beginning of Spats just going on a tear. He took down Art, he took down Akedon 4-0. He dominated Akedon, mate. And Spats was the Code S Ascension champion. And right after he won, Berserker tweeted, they're like, yo, we're picking this guy up. and they posted a screenshot of this bracket, of the Ascension League bracket. So it was really cool to see Spats get recognition after winning this tournament, and it all kind of transpired in WTL last night. I guess, you know, if you didn't watch WTL last night, Berserker Esports and Spats did very well for themselves, and he was able to kind of show off his form to a wider audience because, you know, a lot more people do tune into WTL. So yeah, you know, we had our group stage, we had a playoff bracket as well for those, you know, again, more mid-tier European players. But now we are here to crown a Code A champion. First we casted Code S, and now we've been working our way through Code A, and it's been pretty intense. We weren't able to cover the group stage of Code A, but we have been able to cover the playoff bracket, and yeah, it's been a pretty wild ride here. Nicoract took down Holy Hit last week, 3-0, and was looking in form. If you tune into the VODs, I highly recommend watching Shameless versus Deca. That was crazy. That PvP, for the people that remember, was wild. It went all the way to the ace match, and every single game went down to the wire. Both players were somehow very familiar with each other, and they were reading each other, you know, just the way that they played, how aggressive they were. There was so much two-base, barely even... I remember in one game, I think it was on Ancient Cistern, Shameless was stuck on 2-base for like 20 minutes. But so was his opponent, because whenever one of them tried to expand, they would kill each other's third base, they would outposition each other, they would punish each other, DTs came in. Like, it was such a good PvP. It was maybe the best PvP that we've casted all year, including all the Koreans. So that was a wild series, and then we ended the night. This is when I was very disappointed in my son. I was smudging a little bit. Soul Spirit versus Eba, but Eba played as Protoss. I was looking forward to a ZVZ. I was like, yo, let's go, you know, like Asher was smudging a little bit. He's like, oh, I hate ZVZ. I'm like, no, there's some beauty in ZVZ. And Eba is playing, and then he showed up, and then he played Protoss. And he got stomped. I say stomped. He was able to win with the game that he took was with Glaive Adepts. You know, he had a really nice, you know, Glaive Adepts kind of all in, and then a nice transition from there. But a lot of his play left much to be desired, and Soul Spirit did have a much more dominant performance against Iba in that match, in that best of 5. I'm shaking my head, Iba. I'm shaking my head. Thankfully, after that, Iba did go back to playing Zerg in OSC King of the Hill a couple of days ago. But again, for those of you that were there, to follow that Iba storyline. But this was, of course, a week ago, and yeah, Iba was playing around with Protoss instead, much to my dismay. God damn it. But regardless, there were some really good games, and now we have our semifinals. We have Nicoract going up against Shameless, as well as Fighting Frog going up against Soul Spirit. So we will be casting these 2 matches, and we will also be casting the grand finals tonight as well. And then after that, the stream would either go down, or we're going to stay live and go straight into World Team League, because World Team League is still tonight as well. There's still matches to go on, so yeah, we're going to have a back-to-back broadcast. Asher will be available for WTL, so you know, just solo casting for now. Asher will be here a little bit later on, so yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Oh. Oh boy. But let's go. We must begin. We're going to kick things off here with Nicoract versus Shameless, a bit of a TvP here, and I'm really curious to see how this turns out, because Shameless he looked really fun. I don't know if I want to say impressive. It was impressive. Wasn't dominant, but like he looked really, really good against Deca in that PvP, and it was a lot of fun. It was really dynamic. It was very special. It was very special to my heart. So I hope he's able to bring a similar performance here. That's kind of what I'm hoping for in the end. As yeah, we may as well get ready for our first match. Game number 1, just quickly checking, it looks like it is going to be on Gressman, and as a reminder, this is going to be a best of 5 and not a best of 3, so a bit of a longer series. I believe best of 5 semis and then a best of 7 grand finals. Oh, let's go all the way, Poppy, all the way. And again, you know, because I'm going to be solo casting, I'm gonna need you guys in the chat to help a brother out. Help me, Poppy, help me. As we are getting into this series and spawning in the top left-hand corner of Gressvan, we have the blue Protoss player representing Hokago T-Team. It is Shameless. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Gressvan, we have his opponent. We have the red Terran player representing Psystorm Gaming. It is Nicoract. Quacks in the chat. Quack, quack, quack. But here we go, and there's been a lot of hype around Nicoract, I feel. He's one of those younger players in the European region that every now and then he's able to punch up. He's been getting some surprising performances here and there. I think both Asher and I, we consider him to be a TvT sniper. It's been really impressive to see him go up against some kind of big name Terran players like Gumiho, like Björn, and for Nicoract to take games and even series against them, it's been really impressive. Like his TvT is just on another level. But when it comes to his other matchups, they suffer a little bit more here. And it's important to take note that Nicoract is the last Terran player in the bracket, so he won't be able to flaunt his TvT. He won't be able to, you know, whip out what he's best at, and instead he's going to have to rely on some of his other matchups, and we'll see how he does here. I'm not saying he's necessarily bad at them, it's just, you know, not his forte, which means his opponent here, Shameless, does have a bit of a better chance, despite the fact that Shameless is maybe, you know, a lot less known. Nicoract is on a high profile team like Psystorm Gaming, and he is very active in the online tournament scene. Whether it's OSC King of the Hill, whether it's these other OSC events like OSC Rising Star tournaments, and even events like this as well, like the Ascension League. Nicoract is always willing to participate and be a part of all these events. Shameless, not as much. Shameless, he plays in like team league matches for his team, for her Cargo T team. But that's kind of it. Maybe like CSO weekly, maybe like he's not that active. So unfortunately, you know, I don't really have as much to go on. I can't really say too much about his tendencies in this matchup. Likewise, because he isn't as active, you know, I don't know how familiar his opponent is with him. I'm ready to be wowed though. I'm ready to experience Shameless, experience the showdown, and hopefully become a fan. I mean, I'm already a fan of his PvP. to be fair, he's already got me. I'm already in. But you know, I want to see how he can do here against Nicoract, a more established player. As you do see the first Reaper slipping into the main base, getting a probe kill, and it also gets a full scout of the main. Ooh, the Reaper does overextend though. It will get picked off, but at least it got a probe. At least it was able to scout the Twilight Council opener of his opponent. Is fully aware of the opening. Behind this, we did see again, I believe it was a Rax Expand opening overall. We have our CC on the way already, and then we have our transition point. Looks like we may be setting up for a bit of a mine drop. I say a little bit because already we have our second Rax on the way. I imagine just getting into our 3 Rax setup. But we'll see if he commits to even just 2 Raxes here, which is something we've seen, you know, pop up a little bit more frequently here and there in TvP. 2-on-1s, I mean. Well, that happens, you know, now that the Reaper has been dealt with. Shit, I almost called him shit down. God, Shameless is going to be poking in with his Adept, just trying to get a scout off, but ooh, nice moves here from Nicoract, is able to punish it, and the Adept goes down. A little bit of miscontrol there from Shameless. The Adept shouldn't have been able to have been caught by those Marines, so already he's going to be further in the dark. There is that third Rax. Meanwhile, Widowmine drop is being set up as well. This isn't going to be a hyper-committed Widowmine drop, only 3 Widowmines in total. There is no armory behind this, for example. It's just a way to get more scouting information and to try and get an economic lead. Of course, Shameless does have Blink finishing up in a couple of seconds, and he has his Stalkers. Whether or not he's able to react in time is the question. This is going to be, in a way, the first skill check of the game. Nicoract is going to be coming on in, and hopefully Shameless can react in time and can minimize his losses, as he's, you know, taking a pretty fast third base off of this. Only working off of 2 gates for the time being, so a little bit greedy, to be honest. A lot of players try to go up to 3 gates before that happens. Meanwhile, here we go. The mine drop comes in. No reaction. No. Oh, no. The mines go off. The mine in the main base does get spotted. A nice reaction in the main at least, but 12 probes are going to be going down. The mines are going to get cleaned up, but they more than paid for themselves, and we still have 1 mine remaining in the main base. Looks like the medevac is flirting with death a little bit. Okay, there we go. It is still in the dead space, and Nicoract is going to be able to go for even more multi-prong aggression. Here we go. The mine is headed towards the natural. At the same time, Liberator is coming into the main base, and Shameless is having a hard time keeping up. Oh, this time he does react, though. Oh, can he get the medevac? Oh, he's going to try to, but the mine is going to go down. At the same time, Liberator sieges up in the main base. Late reaction in the main. 6 more workers go down. Nicoract is just pulling Shameless apart here. And Shameless is being punished a little bit for his greed. Again, taking his third base off of... He still only has 2 gateways, by the way. Like, this is so greedy. He has so few warp-ins to work off of, and he's already working on his first Colossus. He went straight into a bay as well, so... Yeah, I'm a little bit shocked by how he's playing. I'm just not used to it. To be working with this few units, and here we go. Nicoract is rushing across the map to straight up put a nail in the coffin. Does meet up this army, and oh, nice target firing. The medevac is going to go down, but we have Stim, and 1 Stalker is going to get shaved off. Same time, Liberator is going to siege back into the main base. A tank is going to rock up. We do have an overcharge, but we just don't have units. We just straight up don't have any units. GG gets called, and Nicoract will take the first game. Oh, in a pretty convincing fashion, not gonna lie. It's not necessarily like it's hard to say. It's not necessarily like Nicoract was necessarily a level above his opponent. Unfortunately, the reaction time for those Widowmine shots were non-existent at the natural, and it can be really difficult to recover from that point. But overall, Shameless's style to just be very light on gateways is crazy. That's what I want to get at. Well, that's what I want to get at, is that to be so reliant on just 2 gateways there, it's a very greedy thing to do. It's very greedy, and it's so reliant on your opponent to just leave you alone. Like, if Shameless was left alone, and if his opponent kind of, you know, was maybe a little bit afraid of him, or was more passive or more defensive, then I feel like Shameless would have gotten away with murder. But alas, that was not meant to be, and now we are getting into our next game, spawning in the top right-hand corner of Royal Blood. We have the blue Protoss player representing her Cargo T team. It is Shameless. The apple juice. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Royal Blood, we have his opponents. We have the blue Terran representing Psystorm Gaming. It is Nicoract. Nicoract looking pretty damn good with his opener overall, you know, going for the Widowmine drop, followed up by the Liberator as well as the tank push as well. It was a really good way to just punish Shameless for what he had. It's not like Nicoract was all in, it's not like he was being like hyper aggressive either. It's just that Shameless was cutting so many corners. That's kind of the point that I wanted to get across here, is that maybe he felt like he needed to, maybe he knows that Nicoract is the favorite player, so he's like, okay, I gotta do something wild, I gotta cut as many corners and be greedy and just hope and pray and gamble that my opponent would leave me alone. It's either that, or it's just how Shameless plays. And that's where, you know, my inexperience with casting Shameless comes into play, you know? Is that just how he approaches TvP in general? Or is Shameless doing something very specific against Nicoract to try and overcome maybe a bit of a difference, just because of their, you know, their differences in like fame and notoriety, as Nicoract is more of a well-known player. Yeah, we'll see. We shall see, as we do see a Rax Expand coming out from Nicoract. So again, very economic opener from him. Not going to be too aggressive overall. With this kind of opener, he's going to be able to take a faster expansion and going to be able to focus on his economy. Meanwhile, across the map, nothing too crazy, just a gate expand from Shameless. I wouldn't be surprised if we see another Twilight Council opener. He didn't really get into his game in game number 1, to be honest, so I'm sure that he's going to want to try and actually, you know, show off some of what he has to offer in this matchup. There we go. Twilight Council is thrown down. I'm sure at some point in this series, it's a best of 5, we have plenty of games ahead of us. I'm sure at some point we will be mixing things up with a Stargate opener. I don't know if we're going to go crazy and go for a Robo opener. I don't think we're going that far, but regardless, I'm sure Shameless will diversify his openers later on. For the time being though, we are just sticking with the Twilight Council. Have our second gate on the way. A little bit of a interesting move from Nicoract. I kind of like it. He moves forward with his Marines here, and I'm pretty sure this is to catch the Adept. If the Adept comes across the map to try to apply some pressure here at the natural, then these Marines would come in from behind and trap the Adept. But oh, he's coming in a little bit too soon. Oh, no! Once again, oh, the Adept is going to take a couple too many hits. This time, though, Shameless is ready for it. This time, he pulls back in time, and he will not lose his first unit. Oh. Meanwhile, we have a 1-1-1 follow-up, and it looks like a pretty similar setup to Game 1. You know, we're going to have a medevac on the way, going to have some more mines, going to have a second Rax. Like, there's no reason for Nicoract to change up his opener. Oh. Ooh, as he doesn't lift the wall and the Adept gets into the main base, we have a full scout and the Adept is going to be able to pick off some SCVs. Bit of a slip up here from Nicoract, resting on his laurels a little bit as he's just rushing on forward with a handful of units. With the shield battery, these Marines aren't going to do anything. The Hellion does slip into the main and we are getting a full scout. This is important because Nicoract did skip the Reaper earlier, so he wasn't able to get a scout of the main base. Meanwhile, looks like the Adept across the map gets cleaned up, the Hellion as well. We confirm the Twilight Council, we confirm the Blink, so now Nicoract knows that he is... Oh, yeah, he bleeds out a lot of Marines, actually. Oh, God. Oof. This was a risky and a very expensive move from Nicoract. But again, he knows that, of course, there aren't going to be any Oracles or Phoenixes, so he doesn't have to be too concerned about defending his mineral lines. He can focus a lot more on his drop play instead. And speaking of drop play... 2 Widowmines are going across the map. Only 2 though, only 2. It's a little bit less committed compared to game number 1. We do see Shameless applying a little bit of pressure. He's distracting himself. No, not again. No. Oh. Only 8 compared to the 12 of game 1, but regardless, that's a lot of damage being done. At the same time, the Stalkers do get across the map. We don't have a lot of Marines because so many of them were shaved off earlier, and Nicoract, looks like we had a little bit of a pause, but Nicoract did not get a safety bunker here, and he gets punished for it a little bit. A couple of Marines are going to be going down, but both Widow Mines survived. Oh, he's coming back in. This time we're looking, right? We're looking. 3 more probes, 11 probes in total. Well worth it here for Nicoract. Shameless once again struggling to keep up. Oh my god, he's doing it again. Off of 2 gates. He's going straight for a bay and a forge and charge as well. I can't handle it. I mean, he's got a fast third base. So with this fast third, he can recoup his losses. But now he has to invest so much into just chronoing out more probes. There we go. 2 more gates are on the way. And with this charge, we're going to have a little bit more of a robust army from Shameless. We do have a 3rd CC on the way from Nicoract, so he's not going to be going for a 2-base all in. He does have 5 Raxes in total, but again, just looking to expand behind this. I will say that Nicoract doesn't have anywhere near as much momentum as last game, so I don't expect him to commit to an early push. Last game, of course, he moved out with his first tank. I don't really see that happening here, even with the 2nd tank either. And I shouldn't even be saying 2nd tank because we actually don't even have a tech lab on that factory. So yeah, Nicoract going for a much more Marauder heavy composition here. We are starting Marauder production very early on. Interesting. An interesting take here overall, as we do see a drop into the main base to try and pick up a couple of units. One Stalker is going to go down, but only one. Oh no. Oh, as the medevac barely does escape the clutches of those Stalkers. I don't know how. I'm a little bit shocked that that did happen. Alright, well, we do have the drop coming back in, but again, this time Shameless is in position, is going to shut down the drop entirely. But despite that, Nicoract was able to at least take map control. We have a 3rd CC on the way, more production as well, and yeah, we'll see if Shameless can keep up. I mean, at least this time he's kind of survived the early game. He's gotten into the mid game. He has Blink. He has an army to speak of. Before that happens, though, Nicoract is laying siege upon the 3rd base, and we only have 1 Colossus. Here we go. Our 2nd Colossus is not too far behind. The pseudo-line shots are going to be going off on those Zealots. Are going to be cleaned up, and the tank is going to be able to shell away at this Shameless. I don't think we want to be fighting in tank range, but it's going to be enough. He takes down the tank. Remember earlier when I said I didn't think he would push out with a single tank? Nicoract, he just wants blood, Papi. He just wants to keep on going, keep on pushing. Yeah, from it here, I don't really think that was necessarily worth it. Nicoract, he got a bunch of Zealot kills, but he lost a tank, he lost Marauders, he lost a lot of bio as well. Shameless, his ability to get these Colossus out so quickly is paying off, and now we're at that sweet spot. Now we have 3 Colossi in total. Any kind of bio army is going to have a very hard time breaking this. And to be fair, it looks like Nicoract isn't necessarily looking to break the army. He wants to try and go for some multi-pronged aggression. We have a double drop here on the left-hand side. We have another double drop being set up on the right-hand side as well. We do see a force cancel on the 4th base at least. And again, he's looking to try and pull apart the attention of Shameless. Oh, this is... Oh, this is so awkward. The Prism is gonna... Oh, it gets spotted! The Prism gets spotted by Nicoract, but he doesn't care. He picks up and he goes straight into the main. At the same time, that army on the left-hand side is still looking to push on forward here. The Colossi, or the army of Shameless, hasn't really been split up well. We do have 4 Stalkers in the main, but these Stalkers, they're not going to trade well against the Marauders. At the same time, here we go. The main army pushes on forward. Nice target fire on the medevacs. 1 medevac goes down. It looks like with a warping of Zealots, Shameless will maintain control of his main base. He will maintain control of his main. And he's done a decent job at keeping up with all of these drops. Unfortunately, Shameless is still stuck on 3 bases. I'm sure he would have loved to have expanded earlier. And because he hasn't, he can't really take full advantage of his worker count. We can see here he's oversaturated at the moment. So because of that, Nicoract is actually ahead in economy. He's slightly behind in workers, but mules do make up for that. And we should be seeing, oh no, we don't have another CC behind us. Instead, Nicoract is focusing on this push. Look how many Marauders he has. Ay, ay, ay. He's ready to push in. At the same time, Shameless, now that he has 3 Colossi, Disruptor production has commenced. We have a second Robo on the way. Disruptors are a way to be able to overcome the supply advantage that Nicoract has. And boy oh boy, does he have a supply advantage. He is up 30 supply compared to just over 30 supply compared to his opponent. But the longer this goes on, the more refined Shameless's army is going to be. We already have 2 Disruptors. We have a 3rd Disruptor on the way. We have a second Robo as well. I worry a little bit here for Nicoract. I worry that this lead and this advantage that he has, it's going to slowly slip away if he waits a little bit too long. But here we go. Ghosts are coming out. 4th CC as well. Oh my. Shameless out here fighting ghosts. Misses the Woodmine, unfortunately. But there we go. Does get it in the end. And Nicoract has spotted the 4th base that is on the way. He's going to be rotating over with his main army. Oh. And thankfully we have a spotter pylon available for Shameless, so he's going to be able to rotate and keep up with this. Again, we have so many Disruptors. How many total? We have 5 Disruptors right now, and we really just need 2 of them to connect. Oh, here we go. The Disruptors are moving, going forward. He wants to try to catch Nicoract, not looking. Anticipating a little bit of movement, goes for a Hail Mary play, but doesn't connect with anything. Not yet. Nicoract rotating around, does get spotted by a spotter Zealot. Very nicely done by Shameless. Should be able to keep up here with the rotation. There we go. Is going to be able to respond. At the same time, though, we have a drop on the left-hand side, and it's looking to try and focus down that 4th. Gets a gas geyser, is going to be losing his medevac. At the same time, we're diving on top of the Disruptors. Yo, we have some EMPs. 3 Disruptors go down in the blink of an eye. 2 more Novas go off. We get some connections, but look how many Vikings there are. Shameless was trying to catch Nicoract not looking, but he was the one not looking. So many Disruptors went down without getting a single Nova off. We had more than enough Vikings as well. We have 2 more Disruptors coming out of the production, but it is too little too late. The 3rd base has been broken. And Nicoract takes game number 2. Oh. GG, well played. There was a lot of potential with Shameless's army. He had so many Disruptors, but and he had a spotter Zealot as well. I thought with that Zealot he'd be able to anticipate the movement of Nicoract, but he was a little bit distracted by the drop on the other side of the map. He wasn't looking at the wrong time, and Nicoract was so quick to snipe those Disruptors. Oof. Oh my god. And with that, we are getting ready for game number 3. Just before we get into game number 3, I do have to quickly do something for a moment. There may be someone at the door. So, un momento. Oh. And we are back. We are back here to. I apologize. I apologize for the impromptu break, but we are back and we are ready to see how this series will continue. Right now, Shameless is going to be up against the wall. Nicoract has a very nice 2-0 lead in this series. Game 1 was looking a little bit more dominant. Game number 2, Shameless was able to adapt a little bit, respect his opponent a little bit more, and actually, get into the mid game in a decent position. But the harassment, the multi-pronged aggression was a little bit too much for him, and we'll see if he can recover. We'll see if he can fight back in this series, because in the top left-hand corner of Dragon Scales, we have the Blue Protoss player representing Hokago T-Team. It is Shameless. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Dragon Scales, we have his opponents. We have the blue Terran player representing Storm Gaming. It is Nicoract. Oh, and yeah, I was a little bit concerned that Nicoract was maybe being overly aggressive last game. We saw him just continue to send drops across the map, and more than a few of them weren't really working out for him. The medevacs were getting picked off. For the most part, Shameless was able to avoid too much probe damage and too much economic damage, outside of the Widowmine drop, of course. the Widowmine drop did kind of set the stage for Nicoract to be able to afford some losses and some inefficient drops, but regardless, yeah, Nicoract has just been so aggressive this entire series. It's always fun to see. There are some Terran players out there with a bit of a different outlook on TvP. They're more willing to, defend and turtle up and push out with these more tank-based pushes instead, or maybe more reliant on Ravens. But Nicoract, he's very biocentric. As you saw, he has a very maneuverable army. There's pros and cons to it, of course. You have less of an anchor point because you don't really have too many tanks, and you don't really have too many Widowmines either when you play like this in TvP. But it is very maneuverable, it's very flexible, it's very agile, as we saw, and that kind of lends towards Nicoract's style of just going for all these drops and just trying to come at the Protoss from multiple angles. So we'll see how this all comes to fruition as the SCV sneaks out behind the mineral line, and we are going to be getting a bunker here. Unfortunately, I believe Shameless is unaware. He doesn't have a probe on the way either, just to confirm or check this. So the bunker is going to finish. The Reaper is rushing across the map, and we are going to be forcing some delayed mining time here at the natural. Oh. As once again, we did have a Rax Expand opener from Nicoract, so very economic, and not just economic, but also a great way to kind of abuse this position. And yeah, the bunker has finished up. Oh, and Shameless is a little bit slow to respond here with his probe. He needs a shield battery. Without it, oh my god, it's going to be a living nightmare to deal with this. There we go, the shield battery gets thrown down. The Reaper barely gets back into the bunker, just taking a couple of hits from that Adept. And as a result, Shameless, he just has to stay in his lane. He's going to be very oversaturated here. Eventually, he'll clean this up eventually, but it's still going to take a while, and it's a nice way to, again, get an economic lead here for the Terran. Back at home, we're getting into our 1-1-1 setup. Very interesting here. Despite the fact that we went Reaper first, we still have a Hellion on the way, so we could be seeing a very different opener from Nicoract. Especially because he is going to be delaying his Widowmine production. But there we go, we do have another mine behind this. And now that we have the shield battery, now that we have 2 Stalkers, this bunker is going to go down. We should be seeing a salvage soon. Nicoract has to be careful not to let this bunker die. Nicoract! Oh god. It does burn down. Nicoract a little bit slow with the salvage, so a nice little win here for Shameless. Yeah, that was a little bit more costly than it should have been overall. So not too bad here for our Protoss. Oh. Meanwhile, behind this, Medevacs on the way. We do have the Widowmines as well. Oh, Nicoract just trying to do the best he can to keep keep wanting to call him Shadown. Shameless back at home. The Hellion does reveal itself, so now Shameless is going to be that much more attentive to keeping his units at home and making sure that they don't get through that wall. There we go. That drop is moving out across the map. Shameless actually going for a very aggressive build here compared to what we're used to. No fast third base. Instead of a fast third, he throws down 3 more gateways. So we have a 4-gate blink setup from Shameless. Oh boy, very aggressive indeed. But before that can come to fruition, Nicoract, he's coming back with a drop. And this has been the bane of of Shameless's existence the entire time. Finally, he does react to the first drop. Let's go. He does react. He only loses 2 probes. We've seen a lot worse this series. We've seen a lot worse. Oh, God. He keeps his workers alive. At the same time, the move out is spotted by the Hellion. Nicoract is fully aware of what's coming his way. He's getting a tank in position. He does have a bunker as well. He's getting some SimCity set up at the natural. The natural is looking pretty secure. But what about the main base? We need that second tank. The Marines do rotate on up here. They're getting ready because we have Blink. Oh my god, here we go. The drop comes back in. Another good reaction from Shameless. Only loses 2 more probes. And he's looking to be pretty committed here. He blinks into the main. The tank is still not ready. Oh, can he get the Raven? Or the tank? Oh, he will get the tank in the end. And he even forces an auto turret out of this Raven as well. So Nicoract, he's taking a little bit of damage here. Already good trades from our Protoss. Oh, but now the tank does move to the high ground. We do have a couple of boys being pulled here to try and keep this structure alive. Up, 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 up. Oh my god. The bunker is somehow, the Rax is somehow barely going to survive. And now the Marines are going to be pushing on forward here. These are vanilla Marines. Oh, we do have some nice target firing, and the Raven goes down. Oh, not too bad, but there was nothing at home, Barbie. 9 more probes go down. We were doing well. Unfortunately, we didn't warp in defensively back at home. Shameless hasn't been able to deal with this. There's still another mine available. Both mines are still alive. And this is forcing Shameless all in. Like, he's got a third. I don't think he wants to be all in, but he is. Takes down the bunker. The tanks are out of position here. Nicoract being punished for over-defending his main base. We do have that Prism sieging up as well. Oh, oh. Meanwhile, the drop comes back in. Oh. Ah, Shameless, no! Oh, another 4 probes go down. Oh. Protoss players, look away. I'm afraid to look as well, but the units lost have 18 probes have gone down to 2 Widow mines. One of them is still alive, by the way. 18 probes for 1 mine, technically. Ay, ay, ay. The drop play from Nicoract this series has been disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And I feel for Shameless here. He's trying to keep up with it, but he cannot. He goes in with his Blink Stalkers once again. And he's not even able to get that tank hot pick up from Nicoract. Very nice micro. Oh, he wants to go back in. The drop, it's coming back in. We do have a reaction from Shameless. He is looking to try and hunt that medevac down. At the same time, Nicoract is moving out across the map. This time, he has +1. He has combat shield. Stim is going to finish up in a couple of seconds. The drop comes back in. No! No! Oh, 8 more probes go down. GG, well played. Good luck gets called. And Nicoract takes the series 3-0. Oh, that's wrong button. GG, well played. Congratulations to Nicoract. Congratulations, as he does take the series 3-0. And my heart, it feels for Shameless, mate. You know, every single game, at least 8 probes died to the Widowmine drop, and this one was the most we had seen yet. My heart bleeds a little bit, but GG, well played. I hope Shameless doesn't feel too bad about his run overall, because he did really well for himself in the group stage. Again, we were so impressed with his semifinals match. I became a fan of Shameless in the semis with his series against Deca, but alas, he wasn't able to replicate that success in the semifinals. Nicoract is coming in as the favorite, and he's the favorite for a reason. You know, there is a little bit of a disparity between these two players. Shameless a little bit less known, not anywhere near as active. Nicoract, we see a lot of him. We see a lot of him here in the online tournament scene. Ooh, but yeah, with that, congratulations to Nicoract. He moves on to the grand finals, and we are here to find out who is going to meet him in those finals. The lower semifinals match is going to be a series between Soul Spirit and Fighting Frog. Let's go, Papi. Let's go.